feel free to go to another session. Then I think I won't learn you any new things. But perhaps you can ask some smart questions. Feel free to do so. I do have a blinding light here, so I only see a couple of you, but we have got some brilliant helpers here. Probably they notice, and just shout Dave, then I'll hopefully catch it. So about me, this is me. Feel free to reach out on whatever network you think you can find me. I have my own consultancy company. If you want to know, you want to build something together with me, just feel free to reach out. And I'm a Microsoft MVP as well, so that hopefully I can remain that. We'll see. At the end, please fill in the feedback form. You'll help to plant a couple of trees. That's why you need to do it. But also, I would like to do this more and better. So you'll help me as well to do this better. I said already questions. Please, feel free to interrupt me. But we'll do pretty high pace because there's a lot to do in Azure Synapse Analytics. So let's get started. I have a bunch of slides. I really like the marketing team that they sent out to create these. I borrowed them from Microsoft. That's they've done a great job. But they are a bit slick. They're full of marketing terms. Sorry for that. The Azure Synapse Analytics is a really large suite of things. So I get it that you would like to have an overview of it. This is the overview, the diagram that I use to help people like you, clients, colleagues, to explain what's going on. From the left, you could see this as a sort of data platform architecture as well, but the features are sort of drawn into the diagram. From the left, you do see data coming in, and on the right side, you have the tools consuming data, connecting to the platform, and everything is happening in the middle. We will talk about almost all of these features a little bit in this session, so no worries. Things like Purview, the Studio, the languages that you can use, Spark, SQL, all of them. So, first about SQL and Spark. Let me just get a quick feeling in the audience. How many of you have used Synapse Analytics before? Just only opened it, used it? Yeah? Okay. Not a lot, that's good. And how many of you use SQL, like in the language? Maybe in traditional data warehousing? Yes. And Spark? Spark Engine, clusters with Python? Okay, a lot less. That's what I would expect. But I do want to encourage you to use Spark more and more often. Synapse Analytics is a good platform to do that. Databricks is, of course, one of the market leaders as well to do that. As a data engineer, data analyst as well, Spark is your new kid on the block. Don't be afraid to start using it. I've started a couple of years ago to do it, and now I do everything there. So that's you can still use your SQL language there. So that's good. What options does Synapse offer you if you're talking about SQL? Two terminologies that you would hear a lot when people talk about Synapse. One is serverless, and one is dedicated. And if you have used Azure SQL DW, so Data Warehouse DW, in the past, that's what we currently call dedicated. And it's an engine that can work with a lot of data. It uses massive parallel processing to transform your data, get it up to the shape that you want, but it's also a really SQL-oriented technology. So be aware of that. And like the lakehouse architecture, if you would really like to use that, dedicated is not that. Please, don't mix them, don't use them, don't think that you can do the lakehouse architecture using dedicated pools. But on the other hand, serverless pools are really great in doing that. And why is that? Serverless pools can connect to your data lake data and serve you a T-SQL engine, an endpoint that you can query the data in your data lake. So it's a sort of wrapper around your data lake. And you pay per query, not per engine that's running and ready for you to use. It's serverless. The downside of serverless is that it can take a while to warm up. And a while is like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. That's really also one thing that you need to keep in mind with serverless. Those virtual machines that they use, or those what are they called? Images in the back that Microsoft uses to execute your query on the lake, read your data, shape it in the form that you want, and give it to you. Those machines need to be grabbed from a certain pool up, give to you. Dedicated, the name implies it. Dedicated, those machines are already there for you. You turn them on at a certain size and scale. You pay for every minute that they're on. The benefit is that they're really fast, but they cost a lot more money. The other new engine and capability that's now available in Synapse Analytics is Data Explorer. And the name is also familiar for people that have been using Azure Data Explorer, because it's basically the same technology. And with other capabilities that you can find in Azure Synapse, the name, the feature has been picked up somewhere in the Azure family and ported in the suite of tools that's called Synapse Analytics. You'll see the same thing for Azure Data Factory as well. So Data Explorer, what you can do with that is use it for a specific area of data that's log and metrics data. That can usually be a lot of data, like terabytes of data maybe, and they're usually time-based. So logs and metrics, they always have a really hard connection with a date and time. They're stored on a date, and you want to analyze them over time. So Data Explorer is really good at that. So the topics that I also want to quickly talk about are these 12 topics. So, but don't worry, some of them are just one slide, and we can continue. Security and compliance. This is one of those Microsoft marketing slides that I'm borrowing, but the benefit of Azure Synapse Analytics is that they have taken care of a lot of the management, deployment, security, and governance things that you otherwise manually would have to configure and connect to each other. If you would have a similar architecture using other tools like Data Factory, Data Lake, Databricks, maybe other tools as well, connecting them together, making sure that they talk to each other, are secure, they have secure connections, that's in Synapse Analytics really easy to configure. Something like a virtual network where everything is like in a secure box, it's just a couple of clicks. And one of the benefits of having Synapse Analytics is that it connects really well with other connecting tools like Purview and Power BI. So that's also something that is important to know. You have, in the end, a really nice end-to-end lineage available. The Purview catalog, I'm not going to explain that a lot. There are other sessions that you can go to on this conference, but they just look into the depths of Synapse Analytics really well. And in contrary to, for example, Databricks, the connectivity is not that great. So, also one of the things that I wanted to tell you. For data integration, grabbing data, transforming it, storing it, you have a couple of options in Synapse Analytics. And they call it hybrid. How do I interpret that? Is that you can choose. You have options to connect to on-prem data, cloud data, but also code-free, no-code, low-code options. In the UI, if you are familiar with SQL Server integration services, really UI-focused, clicky, then there are options for you. They're called data flows. But if you prefer to write some code or copy-paste SQL code that you already have, there are also out-of-the-box options to do that as well. So you can choose, it's hybrid. The code-free data wrangling option in Synapse Analytics is really nice. It is a port of Power Query, if you are familiar with that, into Synapse Analytics. I expect more investment into this in the future. Today, there are some important limitations when you start using this. So be careful with that. It is no-code, low-code. It's also, using a UI to create your transformations, but it's also, you need to know the limitations. Data flows. Remember, there's a space between data and flows. In Power BI, it's connected, data flows. That's how you can distinguish that. There's not a lot else. And this is also one of the out-of-the-box UI-driven data transformation options that you can use. I'm going to skip these. Then, Synapse Studio. I often call it the workspace. Is what you would use to manage, monitor, and develop your solutions in Azure Synapse Analytics. It is a web-based tool, which is nice. You don't have to install anything on your laptop or desktop. You can just go to the portal. It unfortunately doesn't have a dark mode yet, but there are extensions for your browser to make that work. And you can do basically anything in here. So it has also scripting, editing capabilities to make your SQL scripts work there with visualizations, as you can see in this screenshot as well. So, and this dream, this story actually works out. If you really are going to develop solutions in this Synapse Analytics platform, there are not a lot of moments where you have to get out of this workspace. And that's a benefit as well. If you have the combination of tools like I described earlier, you will go in Databricks, in Data Explorer, in Data Factory, in Azure Portal, and there's like already 5 tools that you're using. This one, most of the time, like 99%, this will cover your needs. It does integrate with repos, so that's also the repeat of the question. And so Git integration is available. If you, maybe it's already in the screenshot. No, the screenshot doesn't show it, but on the top left corner, if you have set up Git integration, your Git repo, your branch that you have selected will be visible there. And that works really well. What other things? One other thing that I want to mention is collaboration with colleagues, simultaneously editing things. Be careful there, especially if you have connected it with Git. You can better use your own feature branch and your colleague his or her own feature branch, and then later merge your code together. There are options to just save and then tell your colleague, if you now open it, you have the latest. But if you keep editing and they keep editing, there is a chance that they overwrite your work depending on the type of artifact. So keep that in mind. There are options, but there is a risk of overwriting the other person's work. So next topic is Synapse Link. And this is an investment where Microsoft really invested in, and this is really potential, depending on the source that you use often. If you have a Cosmos DB or these days a SQL Server database as your primary source where you do analytics, in the past you would do this. You do extract, transform, load, and you develop some transformation path to get the data in your data lake or your SQL Analytics data warehouse database. So there would be kind of a wall between. Now they have a tool, it's called Azure Synapse Link, and they do that for you. They can talk to the source database, read the newest data. So it depends if the source tells Synapse Link if there is a change. That's a prerequisite, but then no ETL is required. And this is magic. This can also really speed up your development process and quickly do POCs, but also production work. In the fall of last year, They made Synapse links for Dataverse generally available, and Azure SQL is also now available, as you've seen in the keynote today. Be sure to check that out if it's applicable for your solution architecture. There are some really nice machine learning options available in Azure Synapse Analytics, but it's not as mature as other options in the Azure family. So given that I only have 20 minutes, I won't dive into it that deeply. You can develop your machine learning models by code using the code editors, but there are also code-free options available to automatically create your machine learning model. And then there is an option to use your model in your analytics environment to score your data. Let's say you have a client table and you have a model that scores the clients based on their past sales. Then you can just easily call that function to score each client, just row by row by row, like with built-in functions. You don't have to call an API, authenticate, and yeah, it's not difficult like that. It's really easy. So that's also a benefit of using Synapse Analytics. Then previous slide, let's skip that. Database templates is a really new feature, and this is something that only Synapse Analytics provides. So be sure to check this out. There is another session by Erwin and Erwin de Kreuk. Check it out on the session calendar. He will talk a lot more and demo this. I think his session is tomorrow, if I'm correct. What this can do is it can make your how you expose your data lake data a lot faster. It can accelerate that by built-in templates that Microsoft provides for you. And also, how I would use that is also just to put a layer on top of my custom tables as well. So they give out-of-the-box templates, but you can also just sort of hack your way into it and expose your own custom tables using this technology. Then there is a lot of mentioning about Power BI and Azure Synapse connected and better together. I want to tell you that it is there, but it's only kind of limited to this capability. It's dashboarding in Synapse Studio, or the workspace. And creating a report on top of an existing data set is what you're doing. Creating a new data set based on the data in your workspace, in your lake, is not what you would be doing in the workspace. I can imagine Microsoft is investing in this. In the future, that capability is also added. But right now, you would make your data set outside of the Synapse workspace and then make it available again so people can create dashboards right in the workspace and use them. So that's what the integration with Power BI is about. Nothing more than that. All right. Some other recent announcements. There's now GPU support for the Azure Spark notebooks, which is a common request for really powerful Spark nodes. And there's Delta Lake support, cognitive services integration. And if you're going to use Azure Synapse, be sure to check out the pre-purchase plan. You can just save a lot of money if you go and do this. It also, you need to commit, of course, to Azure Synapse, so be sure you're confident in that you're going to use this for at least a year long. But then you have some significant savings that you can do with this pre-purchase plan. Check out the pricing calculator if you really want to know how much this costs. And I only have 1 minute left. I'll share the slide deck. I do have some comparison things prepared, rather reused from a recent project where I compare Databricks with Synapse, and you can have some detailed information about, for instance, when to use it for machine learning development, data warehousing, lake housing, or near real-time transformations. So I'll put those on the session page coming days, so they'll be available, or check out my my blog post and Twitter, etc. Then I'll post a link there as well. Yeah. Question is if I have ever used the Power Query integration option of Synapse Analytics in production. No, I have not. No, I just doesn't feel mature enough for me to do that, and I don't know if it's GA already, but I don't use non-GA things in production. But for me, it feels like it's a bit not mature enough to do that, and there were other tools to use. It is time. Thank you very much for this session. I'll be around for a couple more questions. So if you just have some, and yeah, go and visit me here. Thank you very much.